Morning.
Good morning. Wow. What are we now? Like almost a month into this beautiful
Yeah, this will be
journey.
4. This will be 4.
Yeah, it's so exciting.
Mm.
Welcome. And today, this is really exciting. Melinda and I are going to chat about the gap that there is between business and photography, or running photography as a business, or letting photography run our business, or creativity. Like there's so much there. And I think so many of us creatives, we're like, oh, I've got this and I want to do this and I want to do this. And then, but actually the slowing down at looking at the numbers and looking at the products that we're building and looking at all of those things, sometimes it's overwhelming and we push it aside. But then later on, we're like, why isn't my photography business making any money? And it's like, oh, maybe it's because I didn't really think about that too much. Yeah. What do you think,
It's
Melinda?
definitely a huge conversation around, is it a hobby or is it a business? How
Almost too much
serious?
for half an hour, let's be honest. But
Yeah,
we're going
that's
to
way
give
too
it a
much for half an
crack.
hour. And it's like we were talking about in our last episode of comfort and curiosity, and working with the discomfort, and in our practice, even if it is taking 5 minutes to do it, and that is the practice of photography. However, when it comes to business, you have to give it more than 5 minutes, and it is such a choice to do that. And again, that is definitely a choice of discomfort, because from experience, it is much easier to have a job in certain aspects. There's so many different things, because there's just so much extra to think about. And when it comes to making that decision, it has to be such a decision, because like if you go to work and you've got little kids, then you've got to think about like childcare and the expense of that, or the travel time to work, or your hours at work, or the just where you work, and then fitting in that creativity when you can. And if you can't, well, you don't kind of worry about it, but then you get the guilt because you haven't built your business or your photography because you're working and you're being a mom, and there's a million things that we need to do. And then if you do decide to go ahead and put your foot down and go, I've wanted to do this, this is what I want to build my business, I want to have a creative business where I create photos or prints, or what you want to create. There's so much in that choice as well. Is it going to pay? Where's the money coming from? It's finding the courage to show up. It's having the discipline in setting your boundaries and going, this is what I want to create. This is what needs to come from me. I'm making a very conscious choice to build something that is important to me, that shows me, and it's building a business that is putting your heart on a platter.
Yeah.
And it's vulnerable, and it's beautiful, and it's scary, and it has to be one step at a time as you find and work with and build that relationship with your creativity, with your heart, with your business, so that it can be sustainable in all ways for you, mentally, emotionally, financially. It's such a huge choice, and it can be a really uncomfortable choice as well.
Yeah.
It can also be really fun. Like if we look at business the way we look at photography, it's such a creative space. There is so much space and opportunity for creativity to be in our business. But when we're making that choice of going, okay, I'm in a stable job, I've got a mortgage to pay, I've got kids to feed, and everything that comes with that. And then making that choice of going, okay, well, I'm going to build my business. The scarcity that can just take over from that in every aspect, in the, do I trust myself? Do I have it in me to build this business? Where's the money coming from? Where are the clients coming from? Do I have the confidence to build this business? And all of these thoughts just bombard you, usually at 2 a.m. when you're freaking out over essentially trusting yourself that you know how to do this.
Yeah.
That you understand that you're resourceful, that you understand that you are capable, that, if we personally, it has had to come for me to look at business as this beautiful creative space to then take pressure off the fear of, do I know how to make this work?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there's so much beauty in talking through that process with someone. And this isn't me trying to mentoring services.
Yeah.
I literally, because exactly like you say, there are so many things to consider, and particularly as women in business, particularly as mothers in business, there are so many different elements to consider of how you're going to make it work, within what time frame, logistically, distance, funding, all of that stuff, that it's actually, and then we're so close to our business and so close to our creations that actually that kind of gets all sort of muddled in with that. And then naturally we do the thing that takes only about 30 seconds or 5 minutes, and we go, okay, I'm going to do my bits of 5 minutes of creativity. So, okay, I'm still doing the, but actually, like you say, that's sitting down and going, okay, I've been writing a business plan for 2024 and I am so excited. And it's not necessarily because I do have some exciting opportunities come, but there are lots of conversations that I've had with people, and it's putting those in the business plan and going, okay, I can now maybe nurture those conversations rather than thinking, okay, I've got that piece of business, that. It's not like that. I'm not at that stage with a lot of them. But I'm looking at it, and actually it's also allowing yourself that space of going, I don't need to do it all right now. I can actually, if I can eke it out.
Yep.
It's actually a long game thing. And I think this is the difference between, as we were talking about before in the previous episode, about that 5 minutes of creativity and keeping that practice going. The reality of the business is the long game plan.
Yes.
And to go, okay, well, I've just invested in a new camera that's cost me $5,000. Sugar lumps, I need to find $5,000 to pay for that. But actually, okay, but if I spread that over, a year or 2 years of business, because that's how long it will maybe 3. I think realistically, they talk about, they don't know who I'm talking about. The consideration is that you have your camera or a laptop or something, and you allow for 2 years business use or something. So and exactly like you say, it's that intention of going, okay, well, when I was doing it for me and when I was creating for me, if I managed half an hour or an hour every so often, that's awesome. But as a business, if I want it to provide X, Y, Z amount of income, then I have to invest X, Y, Z amount of time. Like
Yes.
it has to correlate. It has to correlate. And it is a really exciting, it's a beautiful gap that opens up, but it's also, like you were saying, it's actually business plans, business ideas, business building a business is a really creative process to go through.
Yep.
It's exactly the same.
Yep.
Like we were talking about just before we came on air, we were having a conversation, and Melinda, you were saying how the process of starting a project is so similar to a business. And I went to a talk recently, and the person at the front was saying, you sit down and you work out your business plan and you put all these ideas down, and that's how you're gonna, that's the journey to success. And I'm like, yes, but the thing is, as with anything, as soon as you start doing it, that morphs, or
Yes.
no one really wants to buy into this idea that you had sitting at your desk going,
Yeah.
oh, this is the best idea ever.
Yeah.
And then you put it into the world and nobody buys into it. But then the reality is while you're doing that or doing something on the side, something else comes that's related to that one, and then all of a sudden that's so natural, and that's the creative,
and that's the creativity.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's the space of being creative and being open to opportunity, and being open to seeing what else is around.
Yeah.
And just having an awareness of, yep, this is what I'm creating. This is my dream business.
Yeah.
But we put so many limits on ourselves. And so if we can be like, it's the same as when you take a photo and you go, okay, so I want to take a photo of this. This is the photo that's in my head that I want to take. This is the photo that's going to be award winning. And you take it and it doesn't translate because you put so much pressure and so many constraints on it, and you've put so many limits on your own creativity in what can happen within that space of you taking that photo. Whereas if you just go in kind of loosey-goosey and open and just excited about what can happen, while still knowing that, I want to take a photo for, say, a client or an award or whatever. If you know that that's the end goal, but you go in creatively and open to opportunity, it's the same with business. If you go in and go, this is what I want to create. This is how much, I need to make every year or whatever, and just be open.
Yeah. Yeah.
And let it work with you.
Yeah.
While knowing that, okay, so this is the offer that I've got, and I'm happy to play within what I'm offering, and what other opportunities can come up within that offering.
Yeah.
Because
it's like this year for me.
You go.
This year for me has been, I was reflecting on it, on my numbers and my opportunities as I've been doing the business plan for next year.
Yep.
And this year for me has actually been one of, if not the most successful year of business that I've had.
Financially, creatively?
Probably
community?
All of them.
Yep.
And yet I've had obviously huge life challenges. I've been my full first year solo parenting 24/7. I've had big gaps where I actually had to get a part-time job somewhere else for a while. And I'm repaying debts and I'm doing all that sort of thing. But when you actually look back at the figures and the opportunities and the creativity and all the things, it's been my strongest. And I think there's a huge part in it that I started this year believing in my business more than any other time, because it's the one thing that I had.
Yep.
It's literally almost the only thing, apart from my beautiful children, because everything else I won't go into it.
Yeah.
But everything else I've lost.
Yeah.
It is the one thing, and I had to absolutely 100% believe in my business and my ability to create and my ability to show up every single day. And I think that by continuing to do that, I mean, I have got choice. I did have moments where I'm like, maybe I'll get a job. And then I started looking on, in New Zealand, we have trade me jobs. And I was looking at jobs and I looked at what I could earn, what I could do, what I could bring, and what the restrictions of having that job would entail.
Yep.
My realization was like, you can do this. You can 100% do this. And it's so interesting because so many years before, there have been moments when it's been a choice to not do it because it was too hard, so I did something else, or I got distracted, or it just kept falling to the bottom of the pile because it wasn't. I don't ever want to feel like my photography has been a hobby, because I trained to be a professional. That was what my course was. It was a professional course in photojournalism, documentary photography. That's what I was doing. But there have been years when essentially it has fallen into that category of being a hobby because I haven't invested in the business side. I haven't kept reins on it. It hasn't, when I was in certain countries, I didn't have to pay tax because they're tax-free countries. So because I wasn't doing that, I was like, oh, well, then I don't, because that ultimately becomes that kind of like business foundation.
Yeah.
And you're going month by month and you're going, oh, do I have enough? Oh, sugar lump, my printer's broken, or my this is broken, or shit, like, oh, I want to buy some prints. And I remember I was like, oh, I'm going to do some t-shirts and see. And then they weren't making me any money. And I was like, because I wanted to do them because I love them. And, but the reality is that, and, if there's the opportunity to run your photography like that, that's totally awesome. But I think there is that sometimes there is that moment where you go, okay, oh, I'm not making money, but am I investing time and focus and energy and decision making to
Exactly.
make the money?
It's that it's the gap of hobby to business. And it's a very
murky.
Very murky gap. However, we make it murky.
We do.
We make it murky because if you're going to go from hobby to business, it needs to be a clear decision. I'm always talking about what's your why, asking loads of questions about, like, what do you want? What do you want? And, knowing yourself in your business and asking loads of questions of yourself, and they will be uncomfortable and you probably may not know the answer, but to have the question in front of you and to be thinking on it and to be working with it, the answer will come through the actions that you take. It just will. And even, asking questions that you think that is totally not relevant for me at the moment. No, it might not be relevant for you at the moment, but it will be in 6 months. It's something that you need to think about. Like, it's great to be in the present and doing work in the present and making decisions now. But if you're in a business, like you said, it's a long game. So you need to be, like, thinking, okay, so that seems irrelevant now. I'm not going to worry about that now. I'll think of that in 12 months. Well, in 12 months, you're thinking of something else.
Yeah.
And so, there's so much talk about, oh, I feel guilty because I haven't, made money this month, or I haven't, I don't feel successful in my business this month, or I haven't had the number of shoots, or I haven't sold the number of prints, or, there's a million things that we can feel guilty about, of course. And it just, it comes back to being kind to ourselves and going, okay, so what is my actual decision?
Mm-hmm.
Have I decided that I do want a business?
Yeah.
Because it's not just us in our business.
No.
It's a huge responsibility to our clients who are paying their hard-earned money to us to provide a service. They put their trust in us. They put their faith in us that we know what we're doing, that we're going to provide a beautiful product, beautiful service. You know, like they come to us for a reason. There is 1 billion other photographers, mentors, authors, creatives, painters, potters, whatever that they can go to. People come to us for a reason. And when they put that trust in us, it's our deep responsibility to take care of our clients.
Yeah.
And it's showing up. It's giving them the absolute best of us. It's, you know, being honest and vulnerable and transparent and, you know, think of, like, I always think of, okay, so how do I pick a service provider, or how do I, you know, like, why do I buy certain products? And, you know, I was thinking the other day, I had just paid for something and probably wasn't really in the budget, but I was like, I have such faith in this. And I love the woman that is doing this. And not only am I buying this thing for me, I want to support her. And that's what it is to have a business, to have that understanding of deep responsibility for what we're creating, because it's not just for us. It's for our audience that then turn into clients, that then refer to their friends because they're like, oh my gosh, this is, you know, this is how she's built her business. And
this is one of the things that I struggle with sometimes in mentoring and courses in the past. And I know that the courses that I've run in the past as well have been very much about finding you and your voice. But when you're running it as a business, exactly like you just said, someone's hiring you because they would like the way you tell the story, but fundamentally it is still their story. It's still their product. It's still their brand. It's still,
they want to see themselves through your artist eye. That's why they've chosen you.
Yeah. So it's, in many ways, it's a double job. It's two jobs. It's two jobs. It's not, it's because unlike a product, a milkshake, a phone, I mean, I guess a phone has different, but you know, you're not, well, no, it's still a phone. You're not adapting each product every single time to that client. You listen to what people want, you think about ergonomics, you think about tastes, you think about nutrients, depending on what it is. You think about all of these different things and you build a product. And then you put it out into the world and then people will buy it or they won't buy it.
Yeah.
With what we do, we tap into ourselves, we tap into our vision, we tap into the things that we like, the things that we have access to, the way we create all of those things.
Yeah.
We then put that out into the world. And then when the client comes along, we adjust everything that I've just talked about specifically to their story. Even chefs don't do this. Chefs don't do this. They create a dish and they put it on the menu. And yes, maybe if someone doesn't want
tomatoes, I hate tomatoes. I always say no tomatoes.
Olives. You know, he'll say, okay, well, maybe we'll not put it on this time.
Yeah.
You know, but fundamentally, it still changes the product and the dish or the recipe or the thing that he spent hours creating. So therefore it's a no. Artists, singers, they write, singer-songwriters, they write blah, 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 and then they put it out there. Actors on the stage, they rehearse, they do all of that, do all of the lines and the props and the everything, and they create and they put it out into the world, and then people are then, we as photographers, well, I guess you've got architects, anyone that's designing something, right? So you've got architects, you've got graphic designers. So we're not alone, but we do very, very specifically build this one side, sell it, and then bespoke it, so to speak. That's not really, but, and I think that is exactly the heart, I find it, sometimes I really kind of catch myself, particularly recently, especially living in a farming community, where I'm like, I don't want to talk about jobs being too hard all the time, because I see people out in the freezing cold. That for me is really, really hard. So, you know, but that is really the challenge that we face, because we cling on to this, the me, the why, the beauty, the things that I like, the things that I want to do. And then we kind of get stuck at this point. Look at my nails. I should really do my nails. Then we get stuck at this point and we go, okay, so now I want to sell it. And I want to sell it. I mean, if you're selling it as a product, like as a print or a book, then that's different. But if you're selling it as a service, then there's the work before the work, before the work, before the work, before the work. There's this whole area that actually is challenging, fairly uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable often because we're talking about money, we're talking about emotion, we're talking about location, we're talking about people's psychology, we're talking about, and this is something that I've been thinking about recently, is the energy that women put into getting the man there.
Exactly. That's why I don't do family shoots.
There is just so much. The children, the outfits, the this, the that, the time. When I had my flat tire last weekend, I was laughing on my thing, because I was just like, I actually have to laugh because this is quite a difficult situation that I've got myself into. But I was devastated for the family, because I know we will do it again. But the effort that mum, farmer's wife, mum, all the things went through to get everybody, all the things aligned, me aligned, all, you know, we looked at the weather, all the things aligned for them to be in that place at that time. And then I couldn't be there because I got a flat tire. I was like really, really devastated for her. And I think, you know, I think there's this.
And these are the things that we really need to think about when we're creating our business, our values.
And our pricing.
What are our values? Exactly. And pricing comes into that. You know, when you're having a business, it's fabulous and it's beautiful to be creating, you know, and have the opportunity to be creating art and selling it. We also need to think of what's making it sustainable. Is it sustainable? In all ways. Like you just said, financially, it's a hard subject for women to talk about. There's a lot of stories, a lot of trauma, a lot of deep wounds around money for women. And that can be a huge thing in your business, to be like, oh no, 30 minutes is up. Shit. All right. I'm going to stop it now, but we're going to keep talking in the after 30. I'll stop this one.